Hi everybody, Dan Illman and Mike Beer. We're at historic Clockers Corner at Santa Anita getting set for the Breeders' Cup World Thoroughbred Championships. And Clockers Corner is usually a hubbub of activity, but the minute Mike Beer walked in, this place cleared out like the San Andreas Fault was starting to bubble. But we are still going to dope out some of these races for you. Before we get started, however, we've got Breeders' Cup packages available at shop.drf.com. 3 versions. My favorite, of course, is the VIP package. It's got just about everything. Picks, Clockers reports, DRF betting strategies, and lots more. Shop.drf.com. So we'll dope out these races with one of my favorite dopes. Race number 5 is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. $1 million is the purse. We're going 5/8 of a mile on the turf, Mike Beer. George Weaver is the king of 2-year-olds on turf. He's got 3 in here.
He's had a good year, this 2-year-olds, that's for sure. He does hold a strong hand in this race, Dan, with 2 speeds down on the inside and then 2 more speeds over from Europe right to their outside. How fast does this pace get?
This pace could get extremely hot. The One Crimson Advocate, of course, is one of the pace protagonists, breaking from the inside for trainer George Weaver. 2 for 2 on turf. This is going to be her first try against boys. She faced 25 other 2-year-old fillies last time out in the Queen Mary Stakes at Royal Ascot, and she had to break from the stand side rail that day, and she was just too fast for those horses early and then dug in gamely late.
That was a really strong performance the last time we saw her. Understandably, Weaver gave her a little time off after that race, Dan. She caught a very lucky head bob to hold on at the end of that race, but she also did all of the hard work in that spot on the lead. A really good filly was getting to her at the end. She managed to catch the right bob there to get the job done. And this is a filly who, by the way, earned an 88 Beyer speed figure in May as a 2-year-old filly, first time on turf. She's good.
She beat Relief Rally that day, who of course has come back to win 2 in a row, including the Group 2 Lowther Stakes. What is this layoff? How does this layoff affect your betting at all? Because when she came back from Saratoga, Weaver was considering a spot at Saratoga and then maybe at Keeneland. And then he said, you know, I'm happy bringing her in fresh. Yeah,
I mean, listen, I don't think I love layoffs. I think it's a little bit more understandable with a filly like this. 2 big races in a row, one of them where they shipped her across the Atlantic to run over at Ascot. So I'm going to be lenient with the layoff for this filly. That being said, she better come back ready in this race.
Right next door is her stablemate, the number 2, No Nay Metz, another horse that had a Royal Ascot excursion during the spring. Was beaten in the Norfolk Stakes that day, but his record in North America is very, very good. 3 for 3 sprinting on turf. Very impressive in all 3 of his starts here.
Yeah, really good over here. You've been telling me all year that this is the best 2-year-old sprinting on the grass, and then I look at your picks and he's not in there anyway, so make of that what you will. Did have a really soft pace 2 starts back when he won. I thought he looked pretty good winning last time. I don't think he beat a great field that day. You know, we're in a situation now, Dan, where this horse has really been tested once. That's when they shipped this horse over for the Norfolk, and he didn't really run that well that day.
He did beat 3 minor next out winners in that most recent start, the Rosies at Colonial, a race that might not have had the classiest field compared to what he's going to be facing here, and he's going to be facing pace pressure, as you mentioned. Tiger Bell is the 3, another filly taking on the boys, another filly in exceptional form with big early speed. She's won her last 2 starts, most recently a Group 3 at Longchamp. The runner-up from that race came back to win a Group 2 in France, and there was also another listed winner from France from that race.
Yeah, had a really good, easy trip, I thought, in that most recent start, Dan. I don't want to knock this filly at all, but they just let her get loose on that field that day, and she held on. You know that she's a really game horse, though, when she makes the lead. 3 wins, nose, neck, so she will fight you to the end if she's on the lead. She has really easy speed, and they've kept her short, Dan. 5 furlongs in all of her starts.
Big Eves is up next, the number 4, and if you want to talk about fast, this guy is fast. You usually don't think of these Europeans as blazers out of the gate. Just watch his most recent start. The Flying Childers going 5 furlongs over soft going. He beat the gate. He showed this field his heels, and he never stopped.
I think that's maybe the most notable thing that you just sort of referenced there, Dan. Not only does he have speed, he's really alert out of the gate, so you can expect him to break running and then try to go forward in here. We've already kind of talked about it a little bit. All 4 of these horses drawn in the first 4 posts, they all have speed. I wonder how much it works against them. Maybe it works more against the Euros than it does against the Americans?
It could work against the Euros in here because they're not used to the kind of speed that the Americans faced. And maybe we kind of saw that a little bit in the Queen Mary when Crimson Advocate showed some of that North American blazing zip. Third place finisher from Big Eva's most recent start came back to place in a group race, so it was a solid performance. One of the Euros that are likely to be coming off the pace is the 5. Give Me the Beat Boys for Jessica Harrington. Has been taking on some good competition, going 6 furlongs. Now has got to cut back to 5/8. I wonder if it's sharp. Plus, this horse sometimes is not great from the gate.
Yeah, exactly. That was the problem with her 2 starts back in the Group 1 Phoenix. She didn't get out of the gate that well. I actually felt like he ran pretty well in that race overall. The start wasn't great, though. Worked really hard in another Group 1 last time, trying to chase. That's probably not his best game. Got to drop back to 5 in here. He did win his debut over this distance, though.
Starlust is up next. Starlust was a Group winner over the all-weather 2 starts back, and even 5th last time out in the Group 1 Middle Park Stakes. I guess the big angle here, Frankie On.
Yeah, that's a big rider change perhaps for this horse. I'm not sure how good he is, Dan. 3 wins so far in his career, 2 of those on the all-weather surface. He has 1 on turf. This is a horse who's never been 5 furlongs. That could really work against him in here. You know, listen, he ran okay in the Middle Park last time. He was in the mix. He had a shot at it. He wasn't good enough.
As Mike mentioned, this pace could get very hot, and the 7 Shards is one of those North Americans that might have enough speed to stay within range and then come with a kick. He just missed last time out in the Indian Summer, coming from way off the pace, and he just seems to be improving with each and every start. It's one of those blue-collar pedigrees going out for an underrated trainer.
Yeah, blue-collar pedigree, but they actually paid up for this horse at the sale earlier this year, so that's probably a good sign for him. His turf races are all good. Just finished behind a couple of these same rivals in that most recent start at Keeneland, though, Dan. But this is a horse who maybe didn't get the cleanest trip in that race. It was kind of a closer's race, but the 1-2 finishers had clean runs. This horse had a little bit of traffic. I thought he ran well.
The 8 is Cherry Blossom, 12-1 on the morning line for the all-world connections. Ryan Moore, Aidan O'Brien. This horse was in the Cheveley Park last time out, going 3/4 against a very good field. That Porta Fortuna is a nice horse. We'll talk about that one in a little while. Only 1 win for Cherry Blossom. Another horse cutting back to 5, maybe a little sharp.
That's the worry with this horse, that the 5 will be a little bit sharp for this colt, or for this filly. I think she's actually really good, though, Dan. The Cheveley Park last time, they got really aggressive with her. They sent her up to be part of that pace. She contested it for a long way. I thought she actually ran well. Her other races, though, she wasn't really part of the pace. She could be forward, but she doesn't need the lead. She could trip out here.
Well, the first 2 George Weaver trainees have big early speed. The 9 Amidst Waves might be the most professional of them. She's run 5 times already. She won a stake at Saratoga 2 starts back, rating and finishing. And last time out against the boys in the Indian Summer, another good effort to just miss. You have to think she's going to be kicking in the lane for Flavien Prat.
Yeah, I guess among the Weaver horses, this is the more versatile one, right? Maybe she just works out the better trip, and it makes all the difference. I kind of feel like her 2 stablemates are maybe just a little better than she is. I guess we'll find out. I can't say that I love her, Dan, but maybe the trip all works out.
The 10 is Valiant Force, and talk about blowing up the tote board. Valiant Force scored at Royal Ascot in the Norfolk at 150-1. Didn't look like a 150-1 shot winning that race, but came back to earth somewhat over softer ground in France last time out, but was facing one of the better 2-year-old turf sprinters in Europe. Van Dijk won that race, came back to win the Group 1 Middle Park. The 4th place horse from that race came back to run 3rd in the Cheveley Park. The 5th place horse came back to win a listed race in France. So Valiant Force, A, faced a really strong field. B, might be getting back to that firm going that he likes.
Yeah, I think the ground could make a difference here. I think it's also notable that Norfolk went 2 starts back. Obviously, it's notable because he was a huge price, but it's also notable because he was dropping back from 6 furlongs to 5 furlongs. He's dropping back again from 6 furlongs to 5 furlongs here. He also ran really well in his debut in a stakes race at 5 furlongs. He has speed, but he's outside.
Slider goes out from post position 11. This horse has won his last 2 starts, including his turf debut. That's the Speakeasy Stakes, going 5/8 right here at the Great Race Place. And Slider went right to the front. He was odds on. He took a little challenge, and he kept on going. There's a lot of speed in this race. Some are saying, up in the press box and around the racetrack, he's the speed of the speed.
I'll believe that when I see it. Maybe he is. He's fast on dirt. He was fast on turf last time. I'll give him a little extra credit for the win last time, Dan, because this horse kind of blew the turn a little bit there. He really opened that race up for some other horses. He still came back. He closed it down pretty easily at the end. I think he's talented. I think he's in a tough spot here, post 11, with all kinds of speed to his inside.
Final horse in the body of the race, the 12, Committee of One. Winner of the Indian Summer Stakes last time out. Amidst Waves runs second, Shards runs third. Committee of One came from off the pace. He could get a similar setup in this spot. I know post 12 is never ideal, but in this race, if they just go flying in front of him, he might be able to tuck in somewhat and work something out.
I can see all that being true, Dan, and this horse is another one. He's run well in all 3 of his starts so far. He's out of that Indian Summer. We've already talked about it with a couple of other horses back in here. I kind of prefer Shards out of that race, but this horse ran very well in there.
3 horses on the also eligible list. 1 really caught your eye.
I mean, I'd love for I don't think it's going to happen. First AE here is the 13 Hedwig. I would love to get this horse into the race so I could bet him at a price. I really like his 2 races. It seems unlikely.
But if he does come in, you're going to get a big price on a Godolphin homebred by McLean's Music. Top pick time for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. There are so many different ways to go, and we landed on Crimson Advocate from the rail.
Yeah, I think we kind of chickened out a little bit maybe to take this horse at a short, or one of the shorter prices on top in here. Maybe you disagree with that assessment. I don't know. I struggled with it. I decided to stick with her in here because I do think she's good. Cherry Blossom and Shards were my main other 2. Unless the 13 gets in.
I want to use Cherry Blossom a little bit. One of my kind of long shots is Give Me the Beat Boys, the 5. A horse, again, cutting back in distance. Maybe that'll help this horse, who's been trying to stay close to the pace, going 3/4 of a mile, and I'm just not sure he's fast enough to do so. If this thing falls apart and he gets a trip, maybe he gets a piece at a price. Crimson Advocate tries boys for the first time in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, one of 3 in the race, trained by George Weaver.